Okay, welcome back to this tutorial video. And this video will be showcasing how you can use the Towny plugin on Planet Nostalgia. This video is aimed for beginners or people that are not aware of how to use Towny, because the command syntax are quite different compared to the modern versions of Towny. Towny is the plugin that handles all the community type builds, territory with town protection and nations. You'll see it commonly used on the server to protect users' builds, like I mentioned, and quite simply, I'm going to be showcasing literally everything you need to use. All the commands, it's all going to be split up into different sections, so it's very easy to navigate around in case you need one specific section. We're going to be moving on to LWC after this video, so you'll both have a Towny and LWC tutorial video. But with that being said, I'm going to move on to the first bit, which is understanding the Towny land system. So this first section of the video will be covering the Towny protection system. It's a relatively simple system to understand. It's not that difficult. It's going to be teaching you what wilderness and the town messages simply mean. So when you first start on the server, you'll be in the spawn point. So you obviously can't build in a spawn point. So you ideally want to do /wild to go into the wilderness. Now you won't see the wilderness message straight away, but what you can do is a command called Towny map. And as you can see, I did Towny map, and I have this white plus sign here, which means I am in the wilderness. Claims will be the golden. By walking to this town, as you can see, it will say the town name and with the town level notification. Sorry, town level status it is currently at, depending on the members. So watch as I cross this border. As I cross into the border of the wilderness area, it means nobody has claimed this section. When a town name appears in your chat, it essentially means you're standing on protected town land, unless they have turned off the protection, which is possible in the town. Like I said, in the brackets you'll see the town level. Always want to check the border before building anything, because ideally you don't want to be building near towns. Although you can, technically, because you're in the wilderness, it might cause some issues with towns. So ideally, try building at least 30 blocks away from towns. Don't be building on borders of the towns, because it will just cause drama and issues. But essentially, that is the Towny land system, or the protection system. These messages will show up all the time. You can also do, like I said, the Towny map, and it will show you the map, which is a lot useful to show all the claims in one area. So I hope that was useful, understanding Towny land system. So this next section will be covering the resident and town information commands in Towny. I want to start with the command /resident. Doing this command will show your current town you're currently in, the last online information as well. Using the command with another username, for instance, resident public image, will showcase his data as well. For instance, he's a king as he owns the nation, his name, the last online date, and the town he's currently in, which is very useful for finding out if members are in a town before sending an invitation to your section, because members can only be in one town at a time. It's not possible to invite members to multiple towns. The next command, which is very important to understand, is /town. Now /town's not going to work for me, but on screen there'll be a little image showcasing how this looks. It will be basically your town name, how many claim books you have, people in your town, and some other statuses and like assistants, stuff like that. So of course, the status like the mayor, the residents, claim size, and nation information. If you want to see the entire town list, you do /town list, and it'll show you all the towns currently on the server. For instance, if I did /town pill, I will get all the information required in that town. So these inspection commands, I guess you can call them, do not change anything. So they're very safe to explore. Furthermore, that you can do the alias of resident, which is /player, which is another helpful command to understand. But that is simply the resident and town information. Very useful for tracking last online dates, very important this is. This is going to come back up shortly with the creating a town system, and I will see you in that section now. Right, okay, now we'll make a town of a server. This is very simple, very straightforward, but before we create a town, you want to choose your location very carefully, because your current town block that you set that as will become the town's starting territory. You can change this later on, but ideally, if you know this now, you can find the location to begin your town. You want to check that you're not in a town. If I try to make a town here, it's not going to work. The town has already claimed this area. You want to be in the wilderness area. Now that I'm in a wilderness area and I found my perfect spot near this exploded hole with a pig in it, I will do town new test. As you can see, once it has worked, we get a message. Player name has just started a town called Town Name. You'll be told some useful Towny commands. For instance, Towny toggle notify, Towny border messages, such as claim, which is obviously very important to claim land, town add, set spawn, town spawn. So we'll now move on into claiming land. Actually, just realized town names must be unique. They are case sensitive, so technically you can have more than one town name called test, for instance, which is quite an interesting feature with Towny. It has to be shorter than 15 characters and cannot contain characters, sorry, rejected by our sensor plugin. Planet Nostalgia as well also has a configured town creation price. This is currently set to 5,000 coins. So we'll now move on to claiming land. I move around. Here we go, the wilderness. And is my town test. So I want to claim this block. So to claim this block, I will do /claim. Here we go. I have now claimed a new territory in my town. So go to the wilderness, go back to the. There we go. As you see, it's all claimed. It's all working. So when you do that claim, there is a simple way of doing it instead of typing /claim out everywhere. It's called /claim toggle. So this allows you to punch the ground in the wilderness areas and protect your town. Now there's something to note here when you're protecting your town. Claims must be already existing to your town blocks. So for instance, I can claim this block because it's attached to my town, it's nearby. But if I went all the way over here, only by here won't be. Yeah, see, it's not connected to the edge of your town. You have to be by the edge of your town. The protections or multiple claim commands available. You can do claim remove, toggle outpost. This will give permission for other residents to claim land. Claim outpost is another interesting command. It's quite difficult to use at first. Essentially, what it does is it will claim a detached outpost. So it requires the town to have at least 5 claimed town blocks and the outpost to be at least 5 towny blocks from the existing claims, for instance. Now that you're happy with claiming your land, claim your area, let's go to the town spawn. So my town spawn right now is quite bland. It's not really nice. I want it to be over here, facing this nice area. Let me turn off claim toggle as well. Turning off this, facing this nice area here. So if I do town set spawn, I have moved the town center. So now if I do town spawn, it has changed. So those are the basic commands for creating a claim in a town. I hope you found this bit of the video useful. Next bit will be moving on to inviting and managing residents in your town. Okay, this section of the video is going to be covering inviting and managing residents in a town. When you create a town, it obviously becomes more useful as you find more residents inside it, because then you can form a better town, because then people can collaborate more in actually just making it look nice, creating builds, and making it active in general. As the mayor of your town, you have to invite people using the command town invite. Now, because Towny is Towny, it'll say that town doesn't exist because it's expecting a username at the end for it to actually work. So for instance, if I did /town invite Towny, Towny has been invited to the town. As you can see on my application here, I have been invited to join the town. Can either accept the invitation, decline the invitation. For this example, I will decline it. So I've declined it. I am not in town. So if I try and destroy stuff in this town, it's not going to work. As you can see, not going to work because I did not accept the invitation. So if I do the command again, case sensitive by the way, and I accept do/town, and as you can see, I am now invited in town. Invitations don't automatically teleport you to a town. Once you've been invited to a town, you can either warp there by using /warp, TPA, or /town spawn. And as you can see, teleport to the town. Now here, I can now play with everybody, get items and whatnot, and meet everybody on the server. If you need to remove somebody later on, for instance, if someone's just joined the town and just griefing everything, you can use the command town kick. Well, this is Towny, so if I do /town kick, for instance, that player is not registered. But if I did /town kick town, he'd be kicked from the town and he wouldn't be able to do anything in the town anymore. You obviously cannot kick the mayor, and the town leadership is transferred by the admins instead through the data files, which is a bit annoying. That's how it has to work. When a mayor leaves a town, it will automatically delete the town. Furthermore, if you were the only person in that town and you decide to leave it, the protection will also be deleted. This is to stop towns existing with basically invalid data because it causes issues on the server. Now, by default, invitations are default, so they give mayors control over membership essentially. Now you can change this with the command town toggle open. So anyone could essentially join it. So if I did town kick Towny, so I've kicked Towny from the town, I am no longer in this town. I have been kicked. But because the town is set to open, I can now do town join, I think it's called test. As you can see, I can join the town. This is incredibly useful for public towns, especially if members just want to join public towns. Like a small town, I guess, so it gets started like that immediately. I don't think on Planet Nostalgia we have any towns like this or all invite based, but we are planning to make a town shortly that is going to be open to players shortly. So it's going to be a very interesting concept, but it's going to be a good one. So that is the inviting and managing residents section. Hope you found it useful. The next section will be covered the town settings and outposts. Okay, welcome back to the next part of the video. This video is going to be covering the town settings and outposts and some advanced claiming methods. Mayors have several tools for organizing the settlement in a town. For instance, they have the command town set board. This allows mayors to create a message, or in other words, a message of a day for returning members. So I can put hello. So when people join, they'll see town name, the message the mayor has applied. Now, you can keep it short, useful rules, projects, or announcements. Okay? Very useful feature for putting messages across instead of using signs, because people will actually see it when you join. So town protection in Towny has essentially 3 modes. So town protect on will protect a town. So outsiders can no longer build or destroy the town. There is town protect to build only, which is interesting. it basically stops outsiders from building while allowing more interactions. Now, this command is more useful in later versions of Townies that protect doors and containers because it allows them to build, but it still blocks the doors and containers essentially. Or if you want to completely, you can just turn it off. If you don't care about people griefing you, you can just turn it off completely, and from there, protection does. Anyone can basically grief. Now, protection does not replace clear town rules or individual containers, anything like that. Like, you know, you should just be warned if you're using this one. If you do get griefed, it is your own. It is basically your problem. Staff are most likely not going to fix it because it's your consequence for turning off in the first place. So ideally, when you start a town, make sure you always turn on Town Protect on. So now we're going to be moving on to the advanced claiming area. So we're going to be using the command claim rect. We are now. This command is quite interesting. So so basically how it works is the mayor will stand in one corner while an online resident from the same town stands at the opposite corner. And when you run the command, Towny will attempt to claim all that land essentially. Now we need to do this in a wilderness area, so let me go over here. Okay, we're in the wilderness. Let's go back onto Towny. We'll move him over here. And if this is here works, so claim rect Towny. There we go. Now if I do Towny map, I've claimed essentially a large amount of this area. We'll do this again. I go and I'll stand over on this island over here. Now this command is very useful, but it requires a lot of communication, navigation with amongst residents in order for it to be used effectively. It's a very, very easy way of protecting large amounts of blocks on a town. So let's see if this is going to work. Oh, if I enter the command right. Towny. So if I do Towny map, you can see it works essentially. It's very, very useful for protecting large amount of land. Now, of course, if you want to, you can also do /claim move, and you can abandon the sector as well. So, of course, with the claim rect command, Towny will immediately does attempt to claim every section inside that rectangle you create, because of course you're standing in two separate corners, which forms that rectangle shape. The area must connect to existing town, fit within its remaining capacity. So you want to count the area first before you're doing it, because if you don't have enough town blocks, which I've gone over, which is a bit of a bug, which needs to be fixed. But typically, if I do let's claim here, it's not going to work because I've used up all 20 blocks. So you want to make sure you have the right town size for it, for this to work. So that was town settings and outpost and advanced claiming. Next section will be covering the town levels. Right, this next section will be covering town levels. And the title shown beside a town is actually determined by the active residents in a town. It is not determined by the town's age, number of buildings, anything like that. It is determined by the active residents in that town. So for instance, Test is a hamlet, village, or pill. These are what town levels basically mean. On Planet Nostalgia specifically, active means the resident has been on within the last 7 days. There are different requirements used for these town levels. They will change as the town grows in activity, and it will also decrease and go down back into the lower ranks as the town goes inactive, for instance. There's going to be there should be an image on screen. Um, go through what each one means. So something else to kind of explain as well. At this point, claims use a server-wide allowance of 48 Towny blocks. Now this is added up by per resident, so as you invite more residents, you get more town blocks. There is a separate level which we can use in the town levels config, which will be used eventually in the future, but for now it is set to 48 town blocks per resident. Something else to notice as well. Right now, because my town's a hamlet, we have 2 active residents. I am a mayor. If your town progresses onto a city or metropolis, you will now you will receive the lord title instead of the mayor. So the titles do come from existing data. So towns that already exist will update automatically. The title will also fail if residents remain inactive beyond the 7-day period. So town levels can encourage towns to be active essentially to maintain their levels. It's a very nice way of basically displaying your town as active, because if your town displays the level of ruin, then people obviously aren't going to join because you haven't joined in more than 7 days, even more than 7 days, probably like, I don't even know. It's going to be a while for it to go to a ruin if it's really high up in the ranks. But that's all you need to know for town levels. The next guide, or the next section of this video, will be covering nations. So this next guide of the video will be showcasing nations and the ally command. Nations group as several towns under one capital essentially. To create a nation, you must be a mayor of a town. The town can already be in a nation, and it must meet the configured size and economy requirements on Planet Nostalgia. So, for instance, on Planet Nostalgia, you need to have 5 residents in your town, and you must have over 100,000 coins to purchase a nation. Once you have the requirements, you can do nation new, call it realm, for instance, and then it'll create a nation. Because I've already created a nation, it'll say that it already exists. So the capital's mayor now becomes a king. So if I do /town, I am now king test instead of mayor test, for instance. I am now a king as I own a nation. To invite the nations to a nation, we can do tell. Now, if, like I said, they're in another nation, it's not going to work, unfortunately. But essentially, you can invite them. The town mayor responds with calls nation accept, nation decline. You can use nation list to display all the realms, and of course nation able to see all the basically all the friendly towards enemies they have. So you can remove nations with nation kick. We just list up all the nation commands. You can kick nations, you can invite them, you can make nations assistants, making nations making players assistants through nations, give them permissions in towns. So it's pretty useful nations. You get a lot of good features from it. So like with Towny, the towns, there are nation levels. Now these nation levels aren't able to be seen in the chat. It's only just a cosmetic feature with the command. But essentially, nations begin at 0. When you get 10 members or 10 nations, you get kingdom. A realm is 25. Empire is 50. A grand empire is 100. Displayed capital ruler titles, of course, change with those levels as well, which is customized within the configuration files. So if that's all you have to know for nations, now we're going to move on to the ally commands. So the relationship between a town and a nation is handled with the /ally command. Now, I am a genius. I am not given myself permission for this command. So I'm going to quickly change my rank to owner. If I can spell the command right. Here. Now owner. Here. 2/ally, and I pretty much can make them friendly, enemy, neutral. For instance, I plus pill. Human agents and now pieces become friendly. And this is pretty much diplomatic and just like just for information purposes. That cosmetic tag doesn't really do anything. Of course, if you want to go at war with each other, you can do. Your nations have developed a hatred for each other and will start a Towny war. Of course, Towny war was never finished in Towny in this version of Towny, so it actually doesn't really do anything. But like save up, the only thing it does do is so the only thing it does do is allow people from the other nation to destroy stuff in your town. So it basically encourages griefing. And you can easily stop this by doing light end pill then nation. Yeah. It's now removed from the enemies, and the Towny war will stop as well. He'll be cancelled out when you do that command. So the nations, of course, don't become enemies instantly, as you saw. On the test server, it's set to a minute. It's not set to a minute on Planet Nostalgia. It's set for 1 day on Planet Nostalgia. Before declaring ability or wars, confirm the spelling and make sure both nation leaders understand the server rules. Even though how many wars do allow griefing, we typically don't allow it unless it's just for like role playing or for like an event. But before using the command, please get permission from staff, of course. But on the server itself, you need the Emperor rank to use the ally command anyway. So that basically covers all sections of Towny, all the commands you need to know anyway. There might be there's going to be an admin section, which might be beneficial for admins using hMod Towny. It's not really related to the players though, but if you have any more issues with Towny, you can join our Discord or leave comments on the video and I will try and respond back and help you. I hope this tutorial was useful. I hope to see you on the server.